What's up, everybody? Coming live from the Carpo Cave back here in Carpo Land. I have made so many freaking videos back here that it's just ludicrous. I've actually shown this before to people, but it's a mess in here. I'll just go around and show you how small this little room is. I got my records back there and fertilizers and stuff, and my clones are in here, and skateboards and all that stuff, computers, shelves, weed, books, Anyway, this is, it's funny because it probably appears that I have like, that I live in a cave or something. Every time I go in the house to do a video, there's always chaos. My son, my 2-year-old, is taking a nap right now, and I was like, well, I'll go make a video in my room, so I don't wake him up. I go in there and there's 2 cats look up at me. I know that when I start making it, they'll be like, meow, all over me. So anyway, I come back out here to the cave and do it. And by the time I get done explaining the cave, I forget what I was going to make a video about. No, I remember it was going to be basically about, what do we really expect from the world, Forgive me for being so animated about this. This is just one of my favorite subjects is, do we cater the world? Okay, let me try to start out by at least laying the groundwork for the idea that I'm trying to convey. I'll start by lighting a joint. I've rolled these nice blue blood joints, and then I put a half of a cigarette filter inside of a pen cap. Slide my joint in there. Nice little smoker, and I don't get chunks in my mouth. I thought that by smoking a joint while I made the video, it would shut me up a little bit so I don't talk so much. Maybe think things through a little bit. I really was earlier thinking about just how do we, settle for less in life. I've gone through so many different phases in my life where, I firmly believe that we make our own reality, and that we make the choice to have as much or as little as we want. And that observing nature, you can see the natural law, the laws that we can observe, how animals appear to be content. They don't generally have as much the only traumatic experiences they face is usually human-related, but, things happen, but they're not trying, they're just living. They're not struggling as much as we always thought they were, it's not a big competition. Animals have a lot of time to relax and whatnot. And so by observing that, we see that there is a way to live within this natural system. It's just that we have to know what we're supposed to be doing. And so the question is always, do we have to have some sort of a practice? Do we have to dedicate ourselves to meditation? Do we have to pray? Do we have to, find a good career? All the things that we think we should do as humans. What do we do? Because we can't just observe animals and say, okay, we're going to live within nature, because consciousness has been endowed upon us and we have to deal with it. It's a rough thing. Consciousness is what sets us apart from the animal kingdom, and at least to as far as we know, we've been given opposable thumbs. We're bipedal. It doesn't matter. We spend too much time fussing over the roots of humans. Like, where did we come from? How did we get here? And where are we going to go? And see this show the other day about what happens when the universe is over, Who cares? None of that shit matters. Why even speculate on the end of the universe? I think it's because we're just trying to look forward to say, it's okay, even if you do die and there's nothing after that, because everything's going to die anyway. And I don't buy it, it's too confusing. It's a cyclical thing. Nothing is created or destroyed. And people talk about energy as if it's just this well understood thing, and it's a joke. I mean, we've created dark matter and dark energy to explain these things that we don't understand. And and people argue back and forth about whether or not it exists. Who cares? Just set all that aside and ask ourselves, why are we wanting to know these things? And the reason why is because we want to understand our place in the universe, and how we're trying to take a scientific approach as to how to live with the world, rather than taking an internal approach, following your heart, and gaining wisdom to understand the world around us. So I guess that I pose the question then, does the world cater itself to us, or do we settle for what we have? Or do we settle for what we have and expect more? Do we manifest more? Do we, let me try to reword that. Will the world provide, will the universe provide the individual with everything they need, so long as they're living a certain way? Meaning, if a person chooses a certain path that brings them a certain awareness or enlightenment, do things come easier to him? And many spiritual practices would say yes. You start getting into the intention and the laws of attraction, and the simplistic version, stuff like The Secret, where they just, anytime they talk about how to manifest, money, it's beyond the point. We know money's important, but it's not about that. It's about manifesting what you need. It may come through money, it may come through love, but first we have to know what we need. And we have to get it in our minds. It's like we have to visualize what we want, and we don't know what we want. People that I have asked, what do we really want? Where are you going to be in 10 years? They don't know. I don't know. Do we set ourselves a goal, or do we just go with the flow? You set yourself a goal, and if you fail, often it's kind of a letdown. And this is why I don't make as many plans or organize a vacation. I just kind of go, see what happens. But at the same time, if you're not setting your sights on a particular thing, then how are you going to attain that? Now, for me, I don't want money in life. I'm not interested in money, but I'm interested in being content and happy so I can do the things that I want to do and educate myself, gain wisdom, learn about things, write books, do things without feeling financially insecure. The philosopher gets paid no wages, You can't just walk around the town philosophizing to people. The days of Socrates, the crazy man. People picture him as this guy with a white robe walking around all enlightened. Fact is, he was a public nuisance. So many philosophers are always a public nuisance. And I asked myself why, and I realized that it's because they put things as it really is. Say, this is the world you live in, deal with it, instead of just trying to cover it up with sugarcoating. And I think that's what we all need. To live real, to be honest with ourselves. And to stop pretending like we don't know what's right and wrong, or that we don't understand what's really important. Because we do, if we're willing to look at it. But I think that once we catch a glimpse of it, sometimes people can't handle that. In other words, if a person's worked all their life thinking that all that matters is money, and then they finally find out that money doesn't mean shit, and that it's not making them happy, it's not so easy to just turn that off and switch to something else. You can't just abandon money and say, oh well, I'm going to go live in the hills, or live meager. It's because you're living as your standard, you're addicted to it just like you would cigarettes or anything else, marijuana. So you have to taper off. So there's no magic solution to our ailments. There's no one size fits all. But I think that there is a common thread between what will work for all of us. And this is why I'm so intent on talking about these things, because I feel like the more people start to see and look within, and you don't have to be or act a certain way. You don't have to pretend or, get all, preachy on people or anything. The more people that find within themselves, they're going to instill those values on those around them through that collective energy, as well as their children. And over a few generations, we'll see everything change. At least that's my hope, is that we'll see everything change. That, that people would be able to do better than we have done. But the question still remains, what is that? Everyone has a complaint about the current system, but nobody has a replacement for it. And I've asked people, I've had really long discussions with people that are opposed to government, opposed to structure. And I say, well, without structure, what is there within humanity? There's structure in the entirety of the animal kingdom. There's structure within nature, within every plant and tree, every forest. The structure of the roots, the structure of the soil, everything has a structure and an order to it. And humanity's no different than that. So rather than, if we're going to abandon the current paradigm, then we have to have a solution to put it in its place. And people are getting better at that. But I think that, people come up with things like the zeitgeist movement, and it's a great idea, but movements won't work. I hate to say that, I don't want to be critical, but I was really into zeitgeist when I first looked at it. And then I realized they're just tying together fears and hopes, 9/11, and all these different things, trying to get people to see this is all the crazy shit that's going on that people are into, and then later they tried to get these solutions to how we're going to get this movement to change. And I just opted out of the whole idea, because once you try to start a movement, somebody will always try to take control of that movement. And it doesn't matter how small it is. Small or large, organizations always have a head in the end. They always have somebody that maintains, whether it be a website, a building, a location, a way to structure this, and somebody gets in with ulterior motives. It's just been shown over and over in history. I don't know of any historical groups that haven't been infiltrated by some kind of problem where they had to deal with it. So the structure comes from within. Building our temple, a little bit at a time. And I'm not going to deny that it's a hard task. It's a long path for all of us. And when you're only 20, 30, 40, and you look at the world and you think, look at what we're doing to ourselves, you think, well, think about this. What if we had never started recycling? What if we had never started curbing carbon emissions? You know how polluted the Willamette River was, where I live, back in the 30s and 40s? They just run all their sewage and factory waste right into it. Regulations, rules, structure is what keeps everything together. So it's not supporting Babylon, it's not supporting the system to partake in it. It's being a participating observer in the system, so you can have an impact on it. Because if you opt out, somebody else is going to opt in and take your place and make something work for them. So you have to take life by the horns, and you have to know what you want. And I'm working on that, and I think we're all working on that. But as a society, we need to know where we want to go before we're going to get out of where we're at. And no amount of hating or despising the government is going to do it. No amount of abandoning structure will change the fact that it exists. You can't hide from the truth. So we can only change it to a better way, I hope. Take care.